Good morning children, this is Mrs. K. Ghosh and I am taking up English literature for classes 9th and 10th, all section ABCD. Today's story is from the short story Chief Settle's Speech, the first chapter. This is a difficult speech, so read the chapter 4 to 5 times go to thoroughly understand it. This is a Chief Settle is narrating the speech, therefore no author is mentioned. In this short story, the chief argues with gentle irony in favor of ecological responsibility and respect of Native Americans' beliefs, traditions and land rights. This is a powerful, bittersweet plea for respect of Native American rights and environmental values. The city of Seattle in the state of Washington in the USA is named after him. This speech refers to the authentic text of Chief Settle's treaty oration in 1854. This speech was first published in the Seattle City Sunday Star on October 29, 1887 in a column by Dr. Henry A. Smith. Chief Settle was born in the year 1786 and lived till 1866. He was a prominent figure among his people, who earned the reputation of being both a warrior and a leader. He was an orator whose voice would travel as far as 1.2 kilometers. He is famous for his speech that he delivered in 1854, just before his lands were taken from him and his people by the white colonizers. The speech was a response to Governor Stephen's proposed land treaty. Though it was delivered in Chief Settle's native language, Dr. Henry A. Smith is believed to have taken notes and translated into English. Chief Settle was a leader of Squamish tribe in the Washington Territory in the 19th century. This was all about the heading. Now we will go through the given points to understand the speech. Nature's empathetic role in the lives of Chief Settle's tribe. Youth's impulsive nature led them into war and destroyed them. Everything on the earth has life. Earth is sacred. Ironic reference to George Washington as native's good father. The God of the whites is different from the nature's great spirit who guides them through their traditions. For the natives and their ancestors, their land and culture is sacred. The natives and the whites will have a common fate. The native tribes would agree to sell their land only if they are allowed the privilege of visiting their land. The whites will never be alone. The land will swarm with the invisible dead of the Seattle tribe. Highlights of the speech. Chief Settle begins his speech by saying the nature has sympathized with his people for many centuries. Today, it is fair, but tomorrow may not be the same. As the great chief in Washington wishes to buy their land, the great chief also sends them words of goodwill and friendship, but he is in little need of their friendship as his people are strong and powerful as compared to the natives. Chief Settle says there was a time when his people were large in numbers, but now they are nothing more than a mournful memory. He will not mourn over their untimely decay. Youth is impulsive and young men often indulge in revengeful acts considering them to be gainful. In the times of war, they never lose their own lives, but the family that waits for them at home bears the loss. So, the natives and the white settlers should never turn hostile to each other. Chief Settle then refers to George Washington as their good father, who promises the natives that if they do as he desires, he will protect them. Settle says that the white people, brave men, will provide them strength and will protect them from ancient enemies. Natives' God is different from the colonizer God. The god of the whites protects only the pale-faced children and forsake the red Indian children. The god of the natives, the Great Spirit, has also forsaken them. If they have a common god, then he is partial to his European children. They are two distinct races having separate origins and separate destinies. There is a great difference between them. He extols that there is a sacredness associated not only with the ashes of their ancestors but also with this land, which is their resting place. But the whites wander far away from their ancestors' grave. The natives have close association with the dreams of their men. The ancestors of the Europeans after their deaths cease to love them, but the Native Americans never forget the world that gave them their being and identity. They keep on loving its valley, its rivers, its magnificent mountains and its lakes. Not a single state of hope hovers above the natives' horizon. The winds moan and grim fate follows them. The situation is similar to a wounded doe that is being hunted down. In a few more years, their race will disappear. White settlers too will have their decay, which though distant awaits them. However, sharing the common destiny will help with the races. Seattle says that they will accept the governor's proposal for surrendering their lands only on one condition, that they will never be denied the privilege of visiting the tombs of their ancestors. The land is sacred and pure. Every hill, every valley, every plain, and even the rocks which seem to be lifeless are holy. Chief Seattle ends this speech by saying that the white man will never be alone, even when the last native would have perished. Those shores will swarm with the invisible dead of his tribe. He requests white men to deal kindly with his people, as the dead are not powerless. Seattle by the end states that there is no death but only a change of worlds. There are 7 themes on which the speech revolves around: Red Indian attachment to their land, oppression, tribal belief system, the Western belief system, clash of civilization, transcendence, environmental concerns. Chief Seattle is known for his love for his land. It is believed that Governor Isaac Stevens spoke to them of the terms of the proposed treaty, which later came to be known as the Treaty of Point Elliott of 1855. It was a land settlement treaty between the United States government and Native American tribes of the area in the Washington Territory formed in 1853. This speech is a formal address delivered to an audience. The narrator is in first person. Throughout the speech, Chief Seattle uses imagery from the natural world to speak of his people, their religion and ways of living. He compares a handful of his people to the scattering trees of a storm-swept plain. According to Chief Seattle, there was a time when a large number of Native Americans occupied this land, similar to the waves of a wind-muffled sea covering its shell-paved floor. The reference to valleys, mountains, and rivers that the Red Indians are in love. He also uses sorrowful images to symbolic natives' condition and their hopelessness, not a single star of hope. The whites made it a mission to rule over the natives under the garb of civilization. Chief Seattle himself witnessed the change in the people's aboriginal ways to a new one belonging to their white masters. These indigenous people used to live with the values of peace, love and respect for Mother Earth, which is clearly visible in Chief Seattle's speech. The Suquamish tribe adapted themselves to the lifestyle imposed upon them by their religious, social, and political institutions. Missionaries, traders, and settlers brought new technology, diseases, and introduced industrialization, which started leading to the extinction of indigenous tribes. So, they became fewer in number and resembled the scattering trees of a storm-swept plain. When Native Americans came in contact with the European during imperialism, they were enslaved and ill-treated in the war. Chief Seattle does not glorify war but condemns it. For him, it does not matter whether their young men grow hostile at some real or imaginary wrong. What matters is that the two cultures should never turn hostile against each other. Young men indulge in revengeful acts considering them to be gainful. They even put their lives at stake to take revenge, but the mothers who lose their sons bear the real loss. According to Chief Seattle, the religion of whites was written by the iron finger of their god, symbolizing strictness to rules and principles. He says that God of their religion, referring to Christianity, is partial and has forsaken his real red children. He says that this God loves only his pale-faced children and not natives. Chief Seattle upholds the tradition in his religion. For them, what is supreme is the idea of Great Spirit that teaches them to love their beautiful world, its verdant valleys, its murmuring rivers, and its magnificent mountains. Assignment for class 10th ABCD, long answer question. Compare the red Indians' belief system with those of the white men. This long answer you will do it in your register. Reference to context question to be done in the workbook of Treasure Trove short stories slowly and gradually. Complete all the 8 extracts, mark and keep the difficult questions to be discussed in class. Assignment for class 9th ABCD. Read the first lesson of short story if you have the book. The teacher concerned will discuss the reference to context questions in the class. Study the given notes and write it out in your English literature register. If you do not have the new register, use the old ones. Now do this question. State the Chief Seattle concern for the environment. Use details from the story to support.